Have you ever looked at a code written by a senior developer and thought to yourself that this code looks clean? It's usually not because they know something secret. It's usually because they know the language really, really well. Today, I'm going to show you 10 C# features that I see senior developers using all the time. And one of them, people misuse it so often that it actually ends up making their code worse. Interested? Let's jump right in. The first feature that I'll talk about is pattern matching. Consider this code. This code by many standards would look like spaghetti code because it's just nested loops of if and else, and it's very unclear like what's the intent of the person writing this code. So what we do here is we have this string result, and if order is online order, we check for priority if the priority is urgent, or if it is a priority order, then we do priority online order, regular online order, and if it is a store order, we do store order, and if it is anything else, we put unknown. So this code can be made more readable by doing this, by doing pattern matching. So if online order with is priority is true is encountered, in that case, we return priority online order. If it is normal online order, that is, if this doesn't go in this branch, then in that case, it is a regular online order. And if it is a store order, then we go with store order, and otherwise underscore, that means default, is unknown. This one makes it very simple to follow, very easy to read, and it's more maintainable. This is this feature number 2. And here's the question. If I have a DTO coming from an API, should it really be mutable? Usually the answer is no. That's where records shine. So let's say I have a user here with ID and a name that I take as a DTO from API. Now I could do it in two ways. One is to use class, which is here, and I can introduce integer and string ID and name respectively, and then I can use this as an object to pass here and there, right? But now this is very verbose, and on top of it, it's mutable, right? Somebody can down the line change it, and we can't do much about it. I mean, you can make it immutable by doing some magic or some C# magic, but it's too much work. And here comes the record. So record saves us because it is immutable, and it just takes all the parameters that you want to give to it. So you just declare a record, and then you put the record name, and then you put all the arguments that you need for that particular record. So this is a highly rated feature that I use all the time, and it saves me a lot of code as well. Here is a customer class that we declared. It has name and email. Have you ever seen something like this? You do customer equals new customer, and after that you try to access the name without ever initiating that. I mean, that can happen. Maybe you won't do it next line in the code, but ultimately somewhere else. Now this is a problem because right now here exactly you'll get a null reference exception, right? Now to save us from this, what we do is we can put a required in front of name. Now you'd say, okay, big difference. What would just require do? So what require would do here, first of all, I'll just comment out this. So now what required would do here is, let's say if I delete this and try to do this. So my ID would give me a compile time exception rather than a runtime one if I do this. Right now it's not showing it here because I haven't it saved. But believe me, it works. Right, moving on to the next feature. This might be the single biggest improvements Microsoft has added to C#. Instead of pretending that null doesn't exist, the compiler now keeps you honest. If something might be null, say it. Don't make the next developer guess, because guess who the next developer usually is? Future you. And future you is always angry. So if you want to specify something that can be nullable at some moment, you put a question mark in front of it. That way you and the compiler knows that this can be null sometimes. All right, moving on to the next thing. Next thing, it's one of my favorites. Now this is called primary constructors. So dependency injection can be repetitive. Before, we used to do something like this. So class user service, we have a read-only string environment, and we inject environment here, and then we do something like this all the times. So now in C Sharp, we can technically just inject that in the class itself, and you don't have to worry about doing this all shebang. Cool, right? All right, moving on to the next feature. Now the next feature is something called collection expressions. This feature is one of my favorite C Sharp 12 edition. So rather than creating a collection like this, what you do now is you declare that collection, and here you put it like this. This is how you do it in JavaScript as well, but JavaScript is not strongly typed. But here you see all the fun that you can have in non-typed languages or non-strongly typed languages you can do here. Right, I'll move on to the next one, and that's nameof. This one is criminally underrated. I use it all the time, and it helps you a lot. So earlier when I used to code, when I didn't know about this feature, what I used to do was, okay, if username is null, then throw new argument exception, argument null exception, and I put the username in it. Or I'll say something like username is null. Now this is okay, but let's say if sometime after I want to change this username into just name. Now the problem is that I could do this right now using the built-in refactor functionality that my IDE provides, which is cool, but it would only do it for the stuff which is in the code. In the string, it doesn't do. I know a few IDEs have that feature, but I mean, a few IDs won't do as well, right? You might not be using that particular ID. How you do it now is you can do something like this, throw if null, or you can even do the same thing, but you can put here nameof, and you do username, and then I'll put a dollar here and would replace it with this. Now why it is better? It is better because let's say if now I want to change this to name. If only I can spell it correct. All right, so you see now here the name would change, but if it was from the earlier code, if you have this username as this, now if you change it to name, this doesn't change. Yeah, that for that reason it's one of my absolutely favorite features of C Sharp. All right, moving on to the next one. Now we are entering performance territory. If you are parsing files, processing network packets, working with JSON, you will eventually meet span of T. Span lets you work with slices of memory without allocating new arrays, less garbage to collect, less GC, faster applications. Catch. It's a little harder to understand. So don't use it just because someone on Twitter said it's fast. Use it when profiling tells you allocations are the problems. I'm not even gonna go there and try to explain it to you. This one deserves its own video, so I'm gonna create a new video to explain this one. Now my intent with this video is to let you know a feature exists. To explain a particular hard feature might be a little out of the scope for this video. But comment, do let me know if you want me to explain this further. I love to. Now, next one. So this one is ValueTask. This is another performance feature. Most developers would be able to identify task of T, but sometimes your async method already has the answer or already has the result with it. Creating a new task every single time creates unnecessary allocations. That's where ValueTask helps. But, and this is important, don't replace every task with ValueTask. In many applications, task is still the right choice. Senior developers optimize where measurements justify it. Not everyone. Alright, moving on to the last one. Now this last one completely changed how I write C#. Instead of writing something like case status.pending, message is waiting, break, blah blah blah, and then doing a default one and then break and then using the message later. Rather than doing that, I could just do this. So this one, some of it I used in the first example that I showed you, but there I was more showing you how to pattern match. But here it's more about the switch expression itself. So that's how you do it. And now you see a lot of boilerplate stuff has been boiled down to this 4 or 5 lines. If one thing that you can gather from this video is that the intent is not to make the code shorter. The intent is to make the code more readable, maintainable, and more performant. So no clever code, no fancy code, code that the next person can understand. And more often than not, the next person is you. If you learned something new today, hit the like button. Subscribe if you want more of these videos. Every week I drop new videos and the topics are similar. I talk about C#, .NET, and some design stuff. So if it is of value, do consider subscribing, and I'll see you in the next one.